guys? Welcome back to another Bitcast. It's your boy, and I'm back here with Zach.
Hey
What's
man, I'm
going on,
glad to
Zach?
see you in a higher quality today.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, had technical difficulties last time,
Good looking
and had
group
to
of
go
dudes
back
right
to
here. I'll tell you
using
what.
good old Zoom. For sure. But we taking, ladies, we taking. Uh, so I know we went off a little tangent last time, but I know we had to cancel last week. But you did say you wanted to talk about something. I think it was the
Oh yeah.
physical copy or something.
I wanted to talk
Physical
to you
copy.
about the physical copy thing, like just in media in general, movies, like games, all that. Because with Sony now and the whole Discovery breakup, right? Like, one, do you foresee more of that happening? And two, if you do, what does that mean as a whole for the industry with this shift?
So when you say Sony and Discovery, you mean when
It was Discovery, right? The
um
breakup, like the licensing, they had to anyone who purchased anything.
oh yeah. I had a brain fart for a second. Yeah. So for those who don't know, um, PlayStation users are going to lose a lot of their movie and TV catalog because the licensing um, agreement with Sony and PlayStation fell through. And so, for no apparent reason, you guys are going to lose the stuff that you
Hmm.
bought on the PlayStation Network. So, this is why I went. This is why I've always been physical media because I had a friend who sold one of his consoles, a PlayStation console, one of the earlier ones, PlayStation 4, and he forgot to sign out. And the person bought up so much stuff in his name. And this happened like 2020 during the pandemic. There was a lot of fraud going on. So he reported it to PlayStation. And out of, you know, trying to preserve whatever, I don't know why they did it, but PlayStation just canceled his thing altogether without doing an investigation. And this is a friend who's PlayStation all the way since whenever when PlayStation came into being. So he invested his whole life into PlayStation. He bought every single movie, every single TV show he ever owned on PlayStation, and he lost it in a couple of
He,
days during the pandemic.
I mean, look, that's a normal thing. I'm going to turn off my camera. I got to fix my camera. I'm going to keep talking. I'm just curious. So, as a whole, with ownership, right? Like, look, we
hmm
already know subscription model reigns supreme over everything, but it's already more costly than it is owning anything. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're 100% right. So, excuse me, I'm in. But that was just to tell why I've always been pro physical media. Cut fast forward to recently, what you're talking about with Sony and with PlayStation and Discovery falling out. Um, People are going to lose all their stuff, and there's nothing they can
Probably
do, right?
not, which kind of sucks.
Um, which is it sucks, and it because to my understanding, if I bought a movie digitally from Amazon Prime, let's say, I would have thought that I owned that, but it turns out with a simple licensing disagreement, you can lose something that you're supposed to own. So
Which they
this is
need to make it
opening
cheaper. Than
my
if that's the
eyes.
case and you don't have true ownership of that, then the digital part needs to be cheaper.
Yeah, and there's no clear cut solution, right? Because I watched a video on this from John Campia, his channel, and he pointed out when you buy a movie off of their store, PlayStation, part of that money goes to PlayStation, part of that money goes to Sony, part of that goes to Discovery. So there's no cut and dry of like who should pay the consumer back for their purchase. Um, so he gave off some solutions. I thought his solution of hey, put up a sign on every send out emails, put up a sign saying you're going to lose your media in this amount of days, and they should offer this person a link to get a free download of this media. And I thought that was a pretty good solution.
Or just
I think
transfer
an
it,
even better solution
onto
is,
like a hard drive of some kind.
yeah, but at the same time, to both you and John Campia's argument, Sony doesn't fully own this. We see that now. That's why they're losing this because of Discovery Plus and Warner Brothers agreement licensing. So I don't even think they can do that. You should really, out of good business practices, um, you should have then like an email or something through the PlayStation service asking the person, how would you prefer to receive your media before you lose it? DVD, Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray, or digital download to your personal computer. Because it's only fair. It's kind of crazy that people are going to lose all their stuff. Imagine if you were like my friend who invested his whole life in PlayStation, and how many hundreds of dollars you spent on digital
Hmm.
media thinking it's yours, and you're going to lose it in a day.
That's pretty crazy.
Like that's wild. That's why physical media is the only way to go. And I've been saying this for years, and you yourself have been against me on this. Physical media is the
Because
way
there's
to
ways to get
go.
around it.
And you need
That's
to
what I'm
start
saying.
buying. There's ways to get around it, but do you really
Yes.
think they're going to do that? Especially with someone like me who has a 4K Blu ray player that's not
Yeah, because
attached
at some point that's
to
going to
the internet.
break.
So, what are they going to do?
And then you're going to, so it's like the new
It's going to
PlayStation that's
break.
coming out. The only way you could play it is by connected to the internet. I told
I
you,
know.
right? This is
I
a
know. I
matter of
saw it.
time. Like I said, physical copies are going to be a meaningless thing too. It is what it is.
Oh, and to rebut you on that, I didn't watch the video fully, but um, I saw someone that said, with all this on the internet, said with all this physical media, with all this digital stuff going on, piracy will always be the winner, and piracy will always be right. And I was like, that's a good point. People will, if anything, the early 2000s is a big indicator that people will suffer putting their PC through the ringer and have like 1,000 viruses just to get that free um, copy of whatever, a song, a movie, or whatever. And piracy is the only thing that will keep these companies honest, because
Yeah,
there's
no, you're
always
right. That's
hackers
a good
out
point.
there. There's always people who's going to get those leaks. I mean, not to put your business out there, but you yourself got tired of all the subscriptions, and you know what I'm talking about. Piracy will always
Are
win
you
in the
insinuating
end and
that I'm a
keep these
pirate?
companies. No, no, you're not. You're not. But you know what I'm talking about. We talked about this offline. But especially with Disney. I mean, we talked about this before. Disney is going to start to stop giving out the option of physical media, and they're only going to want you to go to Disney Plus, and that's just ridiculous to me. Which is why I said last time, me and my wife just started buying all the Disney DVDs and Blu-rays that we like, shows, movies, and we got rid of Disney Plus because they doubled the price of Disney Plus, and then they're going to stop offering physical media. Come on, man. How ethical? How, like, come on. That's just poor business practices. That's just unethical. And in the end, piracy is going to win. How many people out there still own their Disney VHSs, their
I
Disney
do.
Blu-rays? I mean, for $30, you can buy a little device like I have and turn your VHSs into MP4s, which I have. I've done that. And so, how many people are going to take those MP4s and just put them on the internet? Click on this link, you can
Oh yeah.
download it.
No, I
Click
know.
on this link, you can download it.
Yeah.
And then Disney is going to be even more in the hole than they already are this year. I mean, this has been a record year for Disney, and it's not getting better. I just heard that I think it was like 9,000 women are suing Disney for pay disparity. and which goes against
Of
their
what they've
whole
been trying
image,
to push,
you
yeah.
know,
Right.
of the Force is female. I mean, all the Marvel heroes now are female. Like, but you can't pay your. So I wonder, once this isn't this these 9,000 women suing Disney hasn't seemed to gone very viral or is very well known. I wonder how long it's going to take before these Disney actresses start to look at their paycheck and their co-stars paycheck, and they're like, you know what, those 9,000 women are on to something, because my co-star over here, he's making more than me when I'm supposed to be the star because the Force is female. All right. And it's Disney's just in hot water. I don't understand what's going on over there, and all these companies going doing this digital shenanigans, and Best Buy stopped selling physical media. I mean, I went on their website today, was trying to buy The Creator because I bought a couple DVDs last week off online of on from Best Buy. I went to see about The Creator, sold out, just like how Oppenheimer was sold out. But what they won't tell you is that Universal didn't print as many 4K Blu-rays as they usually do for movies, which is why it's sold out. And I'm wondering if it's the same deal with The Creator, and if now these studios are preparing to stop printing as much as they used to, which is going to backfire because I think a lot of people are waking up and are like, you know what?
That's a hot take.
Let me
That's
buy this movie.
controversial if you've
Let me
asked
buy
me.
this movie.
Not Alex Jones controversial, but we're gonna get into some controversy anyway later.
Controversial
But
nonetheless.
I think we should just start stirring the pot now. I watched this movie recently on Netflix called Leave the World Behind. I think it's produced by the Obamas, Julia Roberts, Ethan Hawke's in it, Marshall Ali. It's
Oh,
about like
okay.
cyber
Okay.
attacks and what
Yeah,
would
yeah, yeah.
happen if if
Hmm.
the United States went through a cyber attack and it was like a rogue, contracting company that attacked them with New York with nukes and stuff, and you know, it's I'm
Right.
curious because this is very plausible. I've heard from a lot of different people that world events can be kind of tailored and inspired by movies and books and stuff. What do you think?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, you hear about it all the time. The Matrix with the red pill community online. The Matrix is after me. The Matrix. It's like, all right, man. The Matrix came out like 2 decades ago, and the Matrix is not exactly what you guys are saying. But yeah, I believe that, and it's kind of bone chilling for you to say that now, especially after this morning. I kept hearing. Civil War. Check out this trailer. Civil War. It's an A24 film coming out. Written and directed by Alex Garland. He's a great writer director, especially for sci-fi. He did Annihilation and uh, Deus Machina or Ex Machina. Great movie with Oscar Isaac. And actually, now that I'm saying it, I don't know if Alex Garland is a guy or a girl. Whatever. But they're a great writer director. And bro, I watched the
Hmm.
trailer for Civil War, and I was like, "Oh!" I said, "This movie's
Alex
either
Garland
going
is a man.
to, um, okay." So he's doing this movie, and I'm like,
He did
"This
28
movie is
Days
either
Later.
going to spark a civil war."
No way.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
looking
yeah.
at
He
all
did
his
that
stuff
too.
right now. He does a lot of dystopic stuff. He wrote Devil May
Yes,
Cry.
yes.
Huh.
I think I think that's why
I love
I
that
like his
Devil May
stuff.
Cry too. That was great.
But
He did Dread.
yeah.
Yeah, he did the
Oh,
screenplay for
word? He
Dread.
did Dread?
Yeah.
What? Stop. But I watched this trailer this morning with Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons in
Oh,
there, and I'm like, yo, this movie's either gonna spark a civil war or it's gonna stop America from doing a civil war. But it's actually like in the very near future, there's an American Civil War. And one of the craziest things in the trailer and I meant to tell you to watch it before we was on here. But one of the craziest trailers is they're getting Kirsten Dunst and her family are being held at gunpoint by these guys in fatigues with guns, and they're like, "Look, don't shoot us. We're Americans." And Jesse Plemons is playing the guy. He just looks at them. He's like, "Okay, what kind of Americans?" I was like, "Damn!" Like, you gotta watch this trailer, bro. And I'm like, you saying that now, and I just watched that trailer. Someone even in the comments was like, "Yo, this looks like a good sequel to the prequel that is
Yeah,
today."
I feel like a
I
lot
was
of
like,
things are going
"Oh,
on are
that's."
already written in media, and it's like it's foreshadowing something that's going to happen. It's like that movie that the Obamas did. It's like
Mm,
this is eerie. Like, is this just telling us like what's going to happen in the future? Which I do believe that. And then all of I mean, China
mm.
already attacks us on a cyber, you know, a cyber way anyway.
I
You
know.
know,
And we
and
let them.
it's already now it's being told that they're in
And we
like
let
have
them.
more
Like,
than a dozen different agencies, and they're waiting for a war with the United States to shut everything down at that moment. I'm like, yo, that's
wow, bro.
that's insanity. Makes us think like, I hope we're
That's
doing the
wild.
same back.
And here I
I
am
hope
sitting
we're
and
doing the
talking
same
about
back. We
movies.
better be.
I doubt it. I doubt it. And we're sitting here talking about
No,
comic
dude,
books and movies.
it's true. Like, as you know, all the stuff that's kind of like going on with me, like personally right now, I think it's kind of like vibrating with me a little more than ever. You know what I mean? Because it's
Well, then maybe don't look at that
well,
trailer because
it's a
it's
good thing
gonna
I got a
make
lot of
you
weapons, so I can
like
shoot a lot of
explode.
people. I don't mind.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, you look at Alex Garland's resume, right? And the thumbnail for the video I looked at for Civil War, it kind of made it look like it was a sci-fi movie called Civil War, and I clicked on it specifically because people kept saying try to watch this trailer and not get chills. And I was like, all right, I'm a pretty good guy with a good constitution, let me
I
watch
will
this
give it a
joint. I was like,
shot.
yo,
The
this is
movie I was talking
whew.
about, Leave the World Behind, was made by Sam Esmail.
Oh, my boy Sam Esmail for Mr. Robot, yo, yeah, he's perfect for that kind of stuff, man. I love his work. Ah, I love his work. I'm about to go back and revisit Mr. Robot.
Nick
But
Offerman's in
yeah,
here.
man, it's kind of eerie, man. Yeah. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. He plays either the president or somebody on the president's council, talking about the Civil War in America. Like Texas and somebody else attacks the other states, and it's wild, bro. You got to check it out.
I'm going to give it
It's
a
wild.
shot. I'll check it out.
Yeah, man. It's crazy, but
There's a lot of Asian guys
yeah,
in here.
man.
What does
On
that mean?
any well, no, I mean it's a civil war. It's between different states in America. It's not like
I did
red
well.
state
I
or
didn't know if
something where
so.
like the
I'm just
Russians
saying,
or
like for
China
all
or
maybe it's insinuating that civil war is sparked by like outside influence if it was China or something. You know what I mean?
well, I wouldn't be surprised if in the movie, certain states get backing from different countries. Like how in our in America's first civil war, it was what the French who backed us
And the
for our
British backed the
liberation,
Confederacy.
and yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if, like, in the movie, different sides have like, oh, we're funded by Russia or we're funded by China or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But it seemed like, I mean, it was a quick trailer. I think it's like two states that start the war, and I think it spreads or something like that. But it's eerie because it's not like a sci-fi in the near future. It's like you watch it and you're like, oh, this could happen tomorrow, and you believe it because all the stuff that's going on. Like we've had serious events that happen back to back, and stuff that's still happening that's dividing people,
It's the alien
and it's
chimeras that
America's
want
been
our
divided.
organs. They're trying to divide us so it makes it easier for us to be harvested.
I'm pretty sure the aliens came to Earth and was like, you know what? We
Nah,
should
because
probably leave
dude, we're
deuces,
tasty
man. This
to
place is
them.
crazy.
You
More
know what I mean?
tasty? I think they'd want something more than. I don't think they would travel
How do you know it's
billions of light
billions?
years just to eat us. I think they
What
want
makes you
something
say
more
it's
than that.
billions?
I'm sure it's
How
billions of
come it
light
can't be
years.
the next
Now,
system
of
over?
course, they could have had like a portal. They could have a portal that brings them here. Brings them here in a second.
Because then
But
you got the elves,
now we're getting
who are like the
conspiracy.
necromancers. They mind control and all that other stuff, and they need labor. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. The main reason why I think there isn't any kind of like real violence with humans on any other races because we have nuclear weapons and we could just do like a scorched earth policy and just bomb ourselves and that's it. We're no good to anyone. I'm serious. We got what is there, twelve
That
thousand nuclear
I'm going to
weapons on the
mispronounce this.
planet?
The
You drop
Hari
them out
Kari
once,
ourselves.
like it's going to be more than the Earth blowing up. You got the entire solar system pretty much like getting blown up.
That might be true, actually. So like maybe we shouldn't deal
Because
with these people because
one
they're kind of hot
hydrogen
headed. Let's go
weapon
to
we
a different
have is
system.
like 10,000 times stronger than what was dropped in Japan, right? And if we have
Yep.
thousands of those,
Hmm.
that's more than the Earth times over that will get destroyed. Get what I'm saying?
Mm,
Just a thought.
mm, dang. Just a thought, man. I mean, it could have a chain reaction and ricochet and ripple through the whole
Yeah.
universe.
See?
That's wild, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
That's crazy. Maybe that's why
Nah,
aliens don't
dude, the
want to mess with us
chimeras have
because we're
already
too hot headed.
infiltrated
We got the
us.
red button right there.
You're
I
laughing and you're
guess.
thinking
I
about it. You're
guess.
like, maybe.
I don't know. Well,
Oh, yeah.
you remember that show, The Boondocks, right? Yeah, it's like you don't know what you don't know. How do you know? How do you not know that the dolphins are going below sea level and they're planning and building machines that could destroy us humans? You don't know what you don't
It's
know.
true.
All right, so
It's
be
true.
humble. Be humble and live your life because you never know. A dolphin could probe you
I'll be okay
tomorrow.
with that.
Dolphins are very intelligent. Crows have the intelligence of a 7-year-old. They remember everything. You mess with one crow, it'll torture you for the rest of your life. It'll bring its
So that's
friends.
why if you mess with it, you make sure you kill it
It's
so it
wild.
doesn't tell everyone else.
Crows are the only. I think they said the only bird or animal that reacts when you kill one of its kind. Like they go crazy. They like
So
fly
it's
in
like
a
the Crips.
funnel and go in a circle and go.
Crips and the Bloods.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's wild. I mean, you learn about this stuff and then you realize, oh, that's why there's so many like dark mythology next to crows because they do wild stuff and they can sound like
Yes.
human babies. They have vocal cords. Like it's kind of weird. It's kind of crazy. But if you befriend a crow, they'll befriend you for your whole life.
Hmm.
It's wild. Now we're going
Well,
crazy and going
I
off
mean,
tangents, but
just be careful of those chimeras and the reptilian necromancers. I think we'll be all right. And people think I'm
or don't
kidding. I'm not. It's
because
it's a real thing. Probably. No, I'm serious. Like
probably
I know. I mean,
the
look,
probability, it's
there
pretty
was at
high.
least some kind of sentient life forms that beginning of our civilization uplifted us. That's why the Egyptians and the Babylonians and pretty much any ancient history wrote it down or drew pictures on it on walls. They weren't high seeing
Bro.
these
I mean,
things. You know what I mean?
bro, it's when you look, I know we're just a podcast that talks about movies, but it's wild when you actually do a deep dive in this stuff. How is it that the Egyptians, the
Everyone, the
Mayans,
Chinese, the
other
Japanese, all of them.
all these cultures that were not close to each other at all, they draw the
The
same things and they
Sumerians.
build the
Well,
same
the
kind of structures.
Sumerians
Like it's
disappeared,
like it's
and
it's
there's a
wild.
theory that the
Sumerians, man.
Sumerians were all abducted by aliens and then they were manipulated by a higher life form race to start their own group of people, and those are the people that are infiltrating human civilization right now because they look like us.
That sounds like
Isn't that crazy? But
Mass Effect.
yeah, but it's like
The collectors.
but the Sumerians just disappeared. Like they just like all
Nah, duh.
disappeared at the same time. And we're like, what's this?
And it's crazy because when you do a deep dive in the stuff that we're talking about, like all this is in the original storyline for Assassin's Creed. If you played all those earlier games and looked
Oh
at
yeah,
the
humans were
underlying
like Adam
story,
and Eve were
it's saying
escaping
this
some
exact
like
stuff.
power plant or something, a factory.
Like they are like humans were made by higher
I don't
intelligent
think we
beings
were
from
made
space or
by
something like that.
them. No, no, I'm just yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah. That's how
I'm
Assassin's
saying
Creed. Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
exactly. Yeah, we were definitely genetically
yeah,
engineered. I think we all come from the same, like all life comes from the same origin. You know what I mean? And
right,
it's just spread
right.
out so thinly. It's just some of them got to it quicker than us because we were too busy being whatever, and fun. It's fascinating. But I'm telling you, like,
Well,
here, like we were just talking about how there's like no zombie movies in the last 10 years and it's all sci-fi dystopic aliens, and now you see these
oh
whistleblowers with aliens,
yeah, yeah,
UFOs, all this stuff coming out. Like this goes back to the point what we were just saying, like media is eerily close to what's going on at the same time, and they're like in separate vacuums when it's being created. So someone knows something and it's just getting leaked and it's just kind of being foretold. Like I seriously think it's like a litmus test, like it's a temperature feeling. Like how do people feel about this because it's going to happen?
bro. It's crazy that you say that because like maybe 10 years ago when decided to get into like film, someone told me that exactly what you're telling me right now. They're like, oh no, this really happens. All these industries talk to each other, and the way that they leak the truth is
No,
through art.
no, that's how
It's like,
all of human
what?
history is this.
Okay,
I mean, how history is even recorded for a long time was through art. How you display
right.
emotions or feelings or anything, because there was for a long time we didn't even have the words to describe what they're looking at, so they just drew it. Like that's why the Bible's worded the way it is, because there's only so many different words they had at the time to even describe what they're looking at.
And then it got
Well, it
translated
got
over
nitpicked
years
to
and
it.
years and
It was
years.
selectively chosen of what was to be in the final version and what wasn't, and
That's true.
the churches afterwards, right?
That's true. Some books were removed
Yeah.
while others were added and stuff.
You got to read the whole thing. If you
It's
read
kind
the
of
whole
wild, man.
thing of what the Catholic Church like removed, it's very fascinating. I think while they think it's creating contradictory thought, which it is, it should really reinforce people's faith, because that's what it is, right? Like religion's supposed to make you question it, and it's supposed to help you. That questioning is supposed to help you grow closer to it, right? That's the whole point of it.
Well, they took the books
Yeah,
out
but
to
then
eliminate the
but there's
questioning
gaping
part,
holes,
right?
right? You're reading on like, why is this? There's a huge
Yeah,
plot hole
yeah,
here, you know.
bro. Like, I'm, you know me, I'm really big into mythology. I started out when I was a kid, when I was growing up, um, and I always tell people the wildest mythology is Judeo-Christian mythology, like the whole of it. I'm not talking about just what's in the Bible, the whole of it. And I always tell people to deep dive because there's whole character and storylines that are not in the Bible that were taken out that are just wild, bro. I mean, wild. Like the first wife of Adam, wow, bro. Before Eve, wow. But I'll let people do their own deep dives and stuff like that. I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm just saying the mythology as a whole is crazy, bro. I mean, look at this. Even look at what they say is going to happen in the end and stuff. It'll blow your mind. And with that being said, let's get into the Passion, bro, which was its original title
I like the
before the studio
Passion
made him
more.
change it.
What do you think?
So I do too. I
It's like
read
Harry
that
Potter.
there
You
was
know
a
how like
movie
the first Harry
being
Potter, it
released.
was the Philosopher's Stone, not the Sorcerer's Stone. And there was
Oh
movie
yeah,
posters of the
yeah.
Philosopher's Stone. They're worth all the money because they changed it to Sorcerer's Stone. And
Remind me again why they changed it.
I don't, but
Do
I
you
do
know?
know that the original book was
There
the
was a big
Philosopher's Stone.
reason.
No, like, well, before it turns, like, there
Yeah,
was
didn't they change the book
original
too?
prints for Philosopher's Stone. I don't know why, dude. Like that. I mean, the books are 20 years old plus now, 25. I don't know what the reason was, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's fascinating. It's the same kind of thing, though. Studio interference. They're like, nah, let's change it. It's like you already spent all this money on marketing. Like, come on.
The studio, and I forgot who did Passion, but the studio had another movie coming out called The Passion. So Mel Gibson had to change the title. He changed it twice. It was The Passion of Christ. Then it changed to The Passion of the Christ. But by the time posters and stuff came out, they couldn't change it because the original movie called The Passion was canceled, but they couldn't change the title back. I actually think The Passion of the Christ helped the marketing of this movie as opposed to calling
It's
it
true too,
just
because
The
you got
Passion.
Jesus in there. Like people
You
get
know,
their ears perked up.
and then if you look at the movie poster of The Passion of the Christ, um, it tells you everything you need to know about the movie. It doesn't hold anything back. Like it has Jim Caviezel's face with the crown of thorns on it and blood coming down. Now the blood I mean, and the poster is black. Even in trailers, the studios changed the color of blood from red to black just so they can get past the censors, and so that's why in the poster, the blood is black, and I think it actually adds to the like brutality of it to change the blood black and like the poster's black and not
There's
gold
a.
but
I don't know
like
if you knew
kind of
this
beiges.
during the release. There was a PG-13 version of this too because it was just so bloody.
Yeah, I read that he
Yes,
released that afterwards because some people, I think it said some people were complaining about the brutality, so
complaining
he
about the
released the
brutality.
PG
I'm
13.
like,
I think to
it's the
take,
point.
yeah,
You get
I think
that
to take
hits
out the
that hits the
brutality,
points, right? Like it's this is the whole point,
yes,
right? Like
that kind of
yeah,
defeats the
it's like
purpose of taking it out.
it's the whole purpose of why he had no business being crucified to begin with because perfect being who's never sinned, who's the savior, all of a sudden it's like going through this torturous thing. Like you have to showcase all of that. Like that then the symbolism's gone. It takes away like, oh, he just had a little no, like come on, man. Like, like this is not something that I don't know if you've ever seen the
I agree.
Scorsese version of the of his Jesus Christ movie with William Dafoe.
No, I actually want to see that
All
now
right,
that
I
I've
want your
seen
thoughts on that
rewatched the
because
Passion.
that is
I want to
probably
watch
more
that one.
controversial than any movie I've ever seen because that twists a lot of a lot of
Yeah,
things.
I watched a video essay on it
Dude, he
about
was blacklisted from
Scorsese's
Hollywood because of how
Christ
bad it
movie, and
was.
yes, yes, by Thomas Flight. Check his channel out. He actually did a deep dive into Scorsese's work as a whole, not just that movie, and how his work has always kind of been very biblical. Even his gangster
And
movies,
then
his
his
certain
Bible
characters
movie
have a
is
lot of
like nothing.
biblical stuff.
I'm like, what are you
I
doing,
know,
dude?
right?
He learned his lesson.
That's
I think
crazy.
that's why his movies are more like biblicals. Like, look, I'm not going to go down this road again because that kept him out of Hollywood for 10 years, minimum 15.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's crazy. And then it's crazy because watching this movie, I remember I saw a TV movie when I was younger, and I wish I can remember the name of it. And I've been trying to remember the name of it for years. But I saw a TV movie where it showed Christ getting crucified, but then um, Mary Magdalene was crying so hard, and I forgot who said it, but somebody was like, "Please just come down from the cross." And then Christ is like, "You know what? All right, I'll do that." And he comes down off the cross. I forgot if he needed help or not. I was young when I saw this. But he comes down from the cross, gets cleaned up and stuff, and the rest of his life he lives with Mary Magdalene as a couple,
Oh my God.
and they have kids. And like that's the whole movie. And I don't remember this movie, and I want to see if there was
Had to be.
controversy behind it, but it was a TV movie.
The fifth.
Yeah, it had to be
What?
because it was like the idea was that Christ came down from the cross. He chose to had a relationship with Mary Magdalene. They had kids, and some people are descendants of these
Like
kids and have like
the Da
abilities or
Vinci
something
Code.
like that, like in Da Vinci Code or something. Yeah, and when I saw
But he
the Da
said right
Vinci
away, "It's like,
Code,
guys, this is
the
fiction.
the
I don't know why
sequel,
you're don't take this pun the wrong way, crucifying me over this." But Dan Brown is the writer, I think. I'm like, dude, this is fiction. This is like, it's
mhm.
fiction. Like, who cares? Like, come on.
It's funny. It's funny because, like you said, he said when he released the book, not even the movie, when he released the book, he was like, "Yo, this is complete fiction," and people took it as the gospel truth. Some people was like, "This is what really happened," and then other people were like, "Yo, he should die. This is blasphemous." He was like, "Bro, it's fiction." It's like the same guy who made
L. Ron Hubbard.
Scientology, the story of Scientology. He was like, yo, if you want to make
Yeah,
money, just
Xenu, the
create a
Galactic
religion.
Emperor, and
And he
Ice Crystals and
he told people,
Souls and
yo, this is fake.
Volcanoes and stuff. Yeah.
It's wild. But yeah, watching The Passion just made me think about that movie as a kid and how for years I've been trying to remember the name of that movie
Yeah.
that I saw
So
on
I'm thinking
TV.
this is how I think we
But
should break this down because there's a lot to go over, and I don't want to
mhm.
really just get into, our personal views on it more like the movie itself. So I think the best way to do it is kind of break it down based on acting, writing, production, all that stuff. What do you think? All right. So for acting,
Okay, let's
how
do
do
it.
you think of the casting and the performance of what they did?
I think it was good. I'd be interested. Well, obviously because Caviezel was the only American actor here, right?
Yes.
So they had to have had um foreign casting directors. And I think who they picked was great. To the point that I know the guy, I forgot his name, who played Judas, he was a self-proclaimed atheist. He converted to
Dude, that's a lot of
Catholicism
people in this
after this
movie.
movie.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Monica
A lot
Bellucci
of
is in
them
that
actually.
same
A lot of
boat,
them
like
converted to
Italian
Catholicism.
actress. I'm like, it's just, it's
Hmm.
fascinating to me.
It's wild, but it's interesting. I wonder because I remember I asked you last time when we talked about the Count of Monte Cristo. I was like, "Do you think Monte Cristo is the reason why Caviezel got the role of Jesus?" And I forgot what you said, but you can kind of see it when
He's a great actor,
when he's
dude. I
playing.
don't know
I
why no
forgot
one
his
talks
name in
about
that
him
movie.
in terms of, he's a fantastic actor.
Oh,
Mm.
can I get into conspiracy right now? So when I was a young buck, I had a conspiracy that if you play Jesus or if you play a Jesus
Hmm.
like character on screen, your career suffers. And that includes Superman because that includes Neo from the Matrix, that includes Superman
Keanu Reeves
because Superman
career
is
did
just
not
superhero
suffer.
Jesus.
Yeah, he was
It
a
did
chick
for a little
flicks
bit
and stuff. That's true.
after the Matrix. It did for a little bit after the Matrix. It
I'm
wasn't
like,
until
dude,
John Wick came
now
around
look,
in
does whatever he
2014.
wants.
Yeah. And people act like he's this new, oh, he's such a great. I'm like, me and my friends have known Keanu Reeves is the
Yeah,
shit
you
from day
guys are
one.
you guys are
You guys
28
just
views
figured
late.
this
All right.
out. Yeah, like come on, man. This guy's always been great. But yeah, like I had this theory if you played Christ or a Christ-like figure, your career suffered because of it. I mean, look at all the Superman actors: Christopher Reeve, um, uh,
Henry Cavill.
Dean Cain, Tom Welling, Henry Cavill is going through it right now. Brandon Routh. Funny thing is, Jim Caviezel, he was opting to play Superman in Superman Returns, directed by Bryan Singer, or he or shall not be renamed, but I just named him. But and
Brian
Superman
Singer.
Returns, but it
He's the
ultimately went
the
to
pedo,
Brandon
right?
Routh.
Okay. Just making sure that I got
Yes,
the right
he
guy.
is. the guy who fled the country after he was found out. But yeah, like he was trying to be Superman. And Bryan Singer said no because you're too famous after um Passion. And Mel Gibson tried to talk Jim Caviezel out of playing the part. He said, "Look, your career is going to suffer. You're
He
not going to
did.
get
He was on a
roles
really
after
good
this."
show, Person of Interest, with Jonathan Nolan. Fantastic show, dude. I love that show.
I mean, Caviezel was the guy for a
He was in a
while in
movie
Hollywood
called
before
Angel
this movie,
Eyes with
right?
Jennifer Lopez. Ever seen it? Okay.
No, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Never really knew about this guy until this movie when I was a kid, and he was like voted sexiest man alive before this movie and after. They called him the sexiest savior and everything like that. Like it's wild. This movie came out in 2004. Like after this, he
And
was named
and
sexiest
then
savior
he did a
by
movie recently, Sound
Variety
of
or something
Freedom,
like
which
that.
was controversial because people were like, it's talking about someone who's saving
Yeah.
kids from a child sex ring, which is a real thing, and people downplay it. Oh, that's not how it is. I'm like, well, I guess you don't read Las Vegas newspapers ever, because kids are found in shipping containers on a semi-regular basis. It's like, what? And he did a
Wow,
fantastic
bro.
job in that movie too. That was a
And
very well done movie.
yeah, he's a great actor, and apparently he's just. I've been looking stuff up about him. He's literally just like the nicest guy on the planet. Him and his wife adopted their kids that they have, and they're just nice
It's rare.
people. And
Genuine
he was just like, yeah,
authenticity
after
is
this
rare in
movie,
Hollywood. That's
yeah,
probably why he's not in stuff, dude.
very, very rare. I mean, he is. I don't know. I don't know why that is. Whenever you play a Christ-like character or Christ, your career suffers. I mean, Willem
He
Dafoe went through
defended
it
Mel
too
Gibson
after
after his
playing
crazy meltdown.
Jesus.
Jim Caviezel.
Who did? Jim Caviezel? Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know. I didn't know. But yeah, I don't think that's the guy you want to defend, bro.
What do you
But
mean? People defend
like
Kanye West, and Mel Gibson
even
said a
Willem
lot
Dafoe,
less things than Kanye.
I am not one of those people. All right, I am not one of those people. Oh, don't get me started on Kanye West, but but I mean, yeah, I don't know why that is. Willem Dafoe, his
Suffered.
career didn't blast off until yeah, it suffered, and then
Spider
it
Man.
didn't go anywhere until
It's
what
because he looks
Spider
like a
Man in
cartoon character,
2002.
dude. That's the thing. Well, what about Boondock Saints? He was the villain in that.
Yeah, it was kind of a
Yeah, that's true
small picture
too.
though for
That's
him.
like a cult following.
Yeah.
That wasn't like big when it
Same
came
thing.
out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, even when the second one came out and people were excited, it was still like a cult movie, So, yeah, I mean, it might not suffer forever, but whenever you play these kind of characters, it seems like your career suffers for like 10 years, maybe even more,
All right, so the
which is kind of
acting, so
crazy.
the acting's good,
But
which I agree with. I think Jim Caviezel,
yeah, I don't see any bad acting in this movie.
it's
I don't.
it's impressive. Everyone's like,
I
and
I can't think
it's
of any.
fascinating. He pretty much hired for part based on your ethnic background, like the people. Very fascinating. It's like good job. Give him credit. He did it right.
Yeah. Now, do you remember if this
Oh,
was
this is
before or
before.
after his rant?
His rant was like '07.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's rant.
So,
That's what you're
yeah,
gonna
like he
call it.
really
You're gonna
yeah,
call it.
we're just for, to keep it PG, we'll call it his
There's a
rant,
lot of
his
Jews that
mental
don't like
breakdown.
him.
I don't blame them. There's a lot of black people, a lot of Jews who do not like this guy. And I thought it was interesting
Pops up. He's in
earlier
pop.
this
He's been
year or
popping
later
up in
last year
stuff
I watched
lately.
a yeah, I saw him on I think it was Variety who did an actors on actors
I
table,
forgave
like an
him.
actors round table. And one of the
Yeah,
actors was Denzel Washington. And I was like,
because
"Oh,
here's the
I
thing,
want to see
dude.
how this
Like
goes." And there was
he
no
he he's a he was a tormented human being. He had a substance abuse issue clearly, and it is
Hmm.
what it is. He apologized. What else can I ask for someone? If they at least apologized and addressed the issue, and they did everything they can to seek help, like what else is there for me to say? Like He did everything he could. It's either you take it or leave it. You know what I mean?
I'll leave it. Didn't he have? Isn't he like a repeat offender though on his
I
rants?
think on Jews, I haven't heard too much stuff on his like black on black people stuff, but I know on Jews because of the Hollywood like control with like Jews and everything. But I think he's just smart.
You said that so
Well,
cavalier.
look,
I
I'm
think on
like
Jews
I
is
guess it's
still
just
a little
because like look
sour
as
on
a
them.
whole like we're targeted, but we're like the least like we get the least sympathy at anyone as a protected class. So it is what it is. But no, it's at least he's keeping his mouth shut right now. You know what I mean? He hasn't put his. I want him. I
I
want
mean, that's
him
the
and
least
Kanye
he can
West to
do,
get
you
together.
know. Oh my dear God, Kanye would probably turn him into his role model and say, "You know what, man? When I grow up, I want to be like this guy." You know what? Let me
There was
not
like
even
a
go there.
surface
But
of a
let's
video of
stay
a
on the
Kanye
passion.
like resurfaced video of him talking about when he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he was like, there was a doctor. I'm not going to say
Hmm.
his background or his race. He was Jewish. I'm like, why did you have to go there to this guy?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, "What, bro?
He's
Like, what?"
all right. Anyway, we
I'm like,
digress.
"Come on,
So all right.
man.
So
Come
acting's
on."
good. Did anyone win any Oscars for that?
Hmm. I don't think so. Oh, nominated for 3 Oscars. Let's
It
see.
should. I mean, dude, the
Because I
production
mean,
alone was
you
good.
and I
That's
talked
not.
about
It
this
wasn't a cheap
before.
movie to make.
I mean, you and I talked about this before, right? Like, you're talking about all these actors had to learn
Latin,
different languages
Aramaic,
for
they're
this.
dead languages.
Latin, Aramaic. Yes. And it's kind of wild. They had to learn these lines and these dead languages and then know which words to inflect on and how to express on certain phrases and words and convey it with their body. Like that's a hard thing to do because Caviezel himself, I mean Caviezel had to learn Aramaic and Latin. Some characters only had to learn one. He had to learn both because
Was
Jesus in this movie
multilingual
speaks
by a
several
mile.
languages.
Yeah, he spoke all of it.
Yeah, multilingual,
And Hebrew. Keep in
and
mind,
that's
that's
why.
Hebrew.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's that
He had to
third
speak
language too, Hebrew.
Hebrew
Third
separately
language.
because that's what. Just so people have an idea, like Israel didn't exist yet, right? So it was just kind of like a loose formation of like different tribes of Jews. So you had people that speak Hebrew, Jesus from Nazareth, these Galileans, so they spoke Aramaic. So there was a lot of different like, things going on. And the fact that he had so little time to like learn those languages is it's it's fascinating to me.
That's why Pontius Pilate is you won't know it unless you speak the language, right? But in the movie, Pontius Pilate asks, "Why are you deserve this condemnation or something like that?" And then he says, Jesus says, is that question coming from you or is it coming from them or something like that? And Pontius Pilate is taken aback because he actually Jesus switches to Latin in that moment to speak his language. And then from then on, Pontius Pilate and Jesus are speaking in um, Latin for the rest of the conversation. So if you know Latin or Aramaic or whatever, you'll get that because he switches
Insanity.
languages
That's I'm
on the
like two.
fly.
You want to talk about two separate things?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. But yeah, like these actors were awesome. And I'm looking at the awards. It didn't win any Oscars, but it was nominated for Best Achievement in Cinematography, Best Achievement in Music, and Best Achievement in Makeup. So no actors
Do you
were
think it's because of the premise of
nominated.
the movie?
I think it would I think maybe they were afraid it would have been controversial to like, you know, nominate Caviezel and not give it to him, or I think there would have been a little backlash, especially because this movie was banned in some areas, and there's
Do you think it
controversy
was
with
all
it, right?
right with
So
Caviezel
some
being a white
countries.
man playing Jesus? Like, I think he sold it. I think it's okay, personally.
I mean. this is 2004, right? This movie came out. I mean, after this movie came out, we had Jake Gyllenhaal playing the Prince of Persia. You know, it was a different time. It was a different time. Have you seen
Awful.
that movie, Prince of Persia?
And
Everybody's white and
British
they're all in
accents. I'm
tans.
like,
Like
what's going
they
on
all
here?
got tans.
Like,
Yeah,
why is
yeah.
anyone who's determined to be a foreigner has a
It's
British
wild.
accent in like Hollywood? I'm like,
I know what is this obsession with the British accent, but everybody wants to badmouth the British, but every time there's someone who's foreign and a
oi!
dignitary, they have to have a British accent. Oi, oi,
We
oi.
should have had
I
we
love
should
the
have had
boys just
what
for Carl
Taylor
Urban's. Oi.
Aaron Taylor Hall or whatever his name is with his crazy
Oh yeah,
British
yeah.
accent in Bullet Train.
Aaron.
He talks like that in real life. I'm like, yo,
I
this
know.
guy is so
Yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah. And there's always a certain British accent, right? It's never like the Aaron Taylor Johnson's accent. That's like the
No,
royal, sexy British accent. It's always like, oh, father, mother. It's never like, oh, oi, bruv.
like how Colin Farrell talks as the Penguin and Batman.
Come here, bruv.
It's so like it's such a
Yeah,
circus.
like, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this, because this is like this to me. It seemed like Passion of the Christ was like a lower budget movie kind of made film. I wouldn't be surprised if like a big studio made this film with a big budget and some of the biggest Hollywood actors. I wouldn't be surprised if Jesus had a British accent. Like, take this bread in remembrance of me. This is my
So
body
messed up.
and this is my blood. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like Jesus Christ, played by Brad Pitt, and he's doing his perfect British accent if he has one. Take my blood in my body, like Father, forgive them. They know not
Nah,
what they
you just
do.
have Brendan
You
Routh
know,
as the
I
Bear
wouldn't be
Jew play him
surprised.
at that point and just have a New York accent. Who cares?
Oh my gosh. I think I forgot which comedian they said who said it, but they was like, "Yo, when you watch a Denzel Washington movie, Denzel Washington is just Denzel Washington with his New York accent and all. Like, it doesn't matter if he's Hamlet or whatever. He's just like, hey, when you see me, what do you see, huh?
How
Like,
you
he just
doing?
has his New York accent. Um, how you doing? But yeah, man, like
What
these
all right,
actors were dope.
cinematography, what do you think?
The film, oh, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. I really liked the bold colors, especially in the beginning with Jesus trying to contend with the fact that it's here, it's now, your time has come for you to be crucified, and it's just like he's trying to find a way out of it, but he's also not. He's trying to convince himself,
He's still human.
and then oh yeah, how do you
I
feel?
like that. It showed
Yeah,
humanity
yeah.
of like the character.
How do you
Like I like
feel?
that part. That was a good choice.
Yeah, because speaking on that, when he's on the cross and he's about to die, he says, "Father, why have you forsaken me?" And then his demeanor changes and goes back to um Father, take my soul, or something like that. I've heard other scholars who talk about um biblical scholars who talk about that's the moment where Jesus took all the sin in, and that's why he says, Father, why have you forsaken me? And that means it's complete, the transition, he dies, da da da. So I really like that too. I like how you just see, because you could have gone a different way, right? You could have went like, this guy knows he's gonna die, he accepts it, it's no problem. He holds his head
It's not
high the whole
realistic.
movie, and he's just like,
Even if
whip
he's
me,
perfect, it's not
beat me,
realistic.
you know. Yeah, and I think that's a directorial choice. You know what I'm saying? Because the to my understanding, the Bible doesn't really explain Jesus's mindset at the time, his head, where he's at with all this going on. I mean, he knows from jump, right? That's what most people say.
Yeah.
He knows from jump what's going to happen. But it doesn't
Right.
explain how he feels. And I, how do you feel? Because from because you could look at this
It
film like a
is.
period piece, right? But then you have Satan
Fantastic
in there,
job
like the
by that
devil,
actress, by the
whatever
way.
you want to call it. Yeah, it was a woman too.
Which
I
is
was
okay.
surprised when I
That's
saw
fine.
it.
Like it doesn't matter.
Um,
It's supposed to be this. It's supposed to be this
yeah,
non-binary character. Like that's the representation. They did a good job picking someone who looked as nondescript and neutral as possible.
yeah. And how'd you feel about including that? Because that's not the only fantastical element. I mean, Judas starts to see things. He sees like a horrific figure in the darkness at one point. He
But
goes
yeah, I think
raw to
that's
the
because
screen. Um,
it's symbolism of his overall guilt, right? Which is why he kills himself, and it's like, look what I've
right.
done, and now you have the haunting of Satan at that point. You know what I mean? So it's like it's emblematic of what's to come. You get what I'm saying? So I like that. That was good choices, I think, for what it is. Because like, look, as a whole, the Bible, as no matter how you feel about it, is filled with a lot of different symbolism of what stories. Like some of it is you take as a literary, for what it is, and some of it's like
Hmm.
what do you take from it? Like the symbolism from it. Like, hey, this is what happened, and this is like a warning type of thing. You know what I mean? So I think my I- things rushed really fast. Like there was a lot of things happening really quickly. Like as soon as he was captured, that was it. Everything off to the horses. There was like no moments of law and like in anything. Like I think there was just supposed
Hmm.
to be the assumption that obviously you know who he is, but like the interactions between Jesus and the disciples, which I guess I didn't mind that they were doing flashbacks when he was being crucified and he was going back and forth. But I think I would have preferred it to be a little more linear. You know what I mean? Like Last Supper happened, then he gets caught and all that stuff. What do you think?
So it's interesting that you say that, and it might be because we have different backgrounds, right? So I feel opposite because I grew up in a very Christian household, very strict Christian household. So this idea of seeing his interactions before, that was I've seen that 1,000 times. Like I talked to earlier about, I saw a movie, a Christ movie, a TV movie before. I've actually seen as a kid so many like straight to TV Christ movies, like they all bundled together, and not just Christ movies. Ugh, I've seen so many biblical TV movies. So for me, it was kind of like the Batman and seeing his parents die type of thing. Like I don't need to see that again in a movie. I've seen that to death. I've seen his parents get shot. Let's just see Batman, right? Same thing with Passion of the Christ. I don't need to see all that in the beginning because I've seen it 1,000 times. Just like in the MCU, I don't need
Do
to
you
see
think do
Uncle
you think
Ben
all that
die
stuff was for
another
shock
time.
value
You know
just to add that? Like to torture?
what in Passion, the torture? Yeah, I mean, clearly the movie had a purpose, right? It's a very we talked about this offline. The movie is mainly from a Catholic point of view, especially
Well,
with
there's
all
one
the
thing that
imagery of
he went
Mary's.
around Catholic points of view. So if you look at
Mm,
Jesus being crucified, right? One, he's being tied with rope, which you do not that is not like, that's
mhm,
a part of the time period. They were tied with rope along with just being nailed down, right? So that's not really expressed.
mhm.
And there are three nails, not four. So if you look at a lot of traditional Catholic crucifixes, both of his feet are hanging and he's got two nails for each of his feet, not together, right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
that's another
right.
thing as well that I was like, okay, look what he did. He kind of went around that because Mel Gibson's Catholic, right? So I was like,
Also, sorry, but do you know if it's a Catholic thing to see
no idea.
the nail through the hand? Because in Roman history, they actually nailed them right under the wrist. Because if you did it in the hand, it would tear
Well,
through
that's
the
why there was,
fingers.
well,
So they
not
figured
necessarily.
out
That's
that
why
if
he
you
was tied with
nail,
rope. Get what I'm saying?
Right, right. Because I know majority. I don't know if it's a time period thing, but majority of crucifixions were through the wrist to lock the hand in, as opposed to the hand.
I don't
You
know
know.
how much we don't have like a huge like detailed account of all the things that they did. You get what I'm saying? Like when John was looking this, because he was the one writing all of the gospels to explain this, right? He's the one who's witnessing this, so he can only see it for how far. Like, okay, what's going on? You know what I mean? So he's the only one with like real
Hmm.
account of what it was, because he was the one that saw his body after everything was done and all that stuff too. So I don't know. I'm very curious if it's through the palm or through
I
the
just
wrist.
remember
I know what you're
being.
saying. But
Yeah, I just remember being taught that um, the
no, no, you're
hand
right,
thing
because I
was
learned the
more
same thing when I was a
symbolic.
kid too, right? But
Yeah.
to me, so I think this is like one of the few like religious movies where the crucifixion is a big deal, obviously, but that wasn't the point of the movie. I think that wasn't the it part. I think the torture scene
Hmm.
was the it part, and him walking to it.
Mm.
What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it takes majority
That
of the
path,
film,
dude,
right?
like he
I mean,
walked
the
a half a
torture, the
mile,
walking
I want
to
to
it.
say, and that cross is like 120 pounds,
Yeah.
and he got beat up. Jim Caviezel got beat up on that set too. Like, got struck by lightning. He was slashed by the
Yeah.
soldiers by accident,
Struck by lightning twice. Struck
and
by
didn't
the
even
soldiers
mean to.
twice.
But they kind of kept it like
Yeah.
they filmed the part of the pain when he got struck, so it showed realism.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And then from then on, after the second time, they removed like the whip parts and they added them digitally, and they would just act it out because he was like, "No," he said. I remember looking up. He said, "In that moment, I didn't feel like Christ. I felt like the devil because I was about to kill somebody." Like, so they was like, "All right, no more of this. We're just going to, do it digitally, and
I
you'll
think enough. I
react."
think
And
if you get
da-da-da.
hit twice by
But
something
yeah, I
like that,
mean,
that's enough. Did he sign up for that,
yeah,
or was
man. I
that an
mean,
accidental thing?
dude dislocated his arm too.
Okay, I was about to say, no
It
way
was
in hell would
accidental.
I sign up for something like that.
Nah, it was accidental. I mean, he even
How do
dislocated
you?
his
So I'm just
arm during
curious.
the
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 soldiers who
one
were doing all
scene.
the torturing and stuff. How do you think, as an actor, you feel doing that?
I think you tell yourself that this is a job, and showing this, me acting out this part, will help show what the film really wants you to see. Is that look at what this man
There's
went
a
through.
yeah.
You know, somebody's
Might
got
as
to
well be
play this
me.
part. And at the end of the day, it's a part. Yeah, at
Yeah,
the end
no
of the
one
day, it's
holds
just a
them
role.
like
It's
the
a
actors
job. It's
accountable.
not
It's just
like.
like that would be tough for me to compartmentalize, though. Just doing that.
I mean, that's why, not to be blunt, but that's why you're not an actor, right? Like, I remember a guy who was trying to be an actor, and then someone asked him to play a role, and he's a Christian, but the person asked him to play a Muslim, and he said no. He said I can't do that, and I was like, well, were they conveying the guy in a bad way? He's like, no, he's the protagonist. I'm like, well, I mean, if you can't do it, you
They
can't
did a
do
good
it,
job.
but just because you play a
They
Muslim
did a good
doesn't
job.
mean you're going to be
They
Muslim.
sold
But
it.
you know, yeah, they did a good job. So yeah, it was crazy, and I remember reading that those soldiers had a different kind of dialect for their Latin to convey that they weren't actually Roman per se, but they were like from
Yes.
Roman
Yeah,
colonies.
they weren't part
You
of like the
know,
central part of Rome, but they were like part of the overreaching territory that Rome conquered.
right,
It's probably
right,
like a
and it's
Byzantine area
man.
type of thing. You know what I mean? Because Roman conquered a lot of the Middle East, so like they could be from anything outside there. You know what I mean?
How do you feel about the directing? The directing of the piece as a whole.
Um,
Or does that matter when you have such a
no, there's no.
brutality to
That makes
your
sense
content?
because I think it does matter because there was a point where like you're obviously have an emotional response when he's being tortured and being whipped, and I think he
Right.
just got to that point where it was like, all right, you're overdoing it, but he stopped short of that. Does
Mhm.
that make sense? What do you think?
Yes. I'm sure there were some things on the cutting room table where he was like,
That's
all right,
enough.
all right, all right. Like,
Yeah.
maybe just
Because
cut
look,
that part out.
we all
Yeah.
know we
Instead
all
of showing
know
that
that
part, let's just show
what
the
he went
face
through
of the
was like
people.
what he did was real, right? Like that's already accounted for in a historical record. We can get behind that, but it's like how much do we actually have to show? You get what I'm saying? Like we don't need to show every
Yeah.
single lash, right? Like we can just show okay, he got beat up and ripped apart and all this other stuff and you see the ends. Like when the Roman soldier comes through is like I told you to whip him, not scourge him to death, and he is. It was there was
Yeah.
a lot. You know what I mean? It's like I know this blood's fake, but damn, and I've been around a lot of real blood, but I'm like wincing. I'm like, damn, dude, that's a lot. You know?
And like you said, take what you want, belief or not, whether you believe he was the son of God or not, whatever. But there's historical fact this man went through this, right? I'm like, how did you survive this, bro? like like the torture scene getting whipped with the metal barbs and stuff. And then you have to walk, you said half a mile with a 120-pound cross. And they're still whipping this dude. Still
Yes,
whipping this dude. And he's not going fast enough. Go faster, so they whip him. You really think that's going to make this man go faster? The one dude who was helping him was like, "Yo, you see he can't go enough. If you keep hitting him, I'm not going to help. So stop. Like enough is enough. Like you're already going to kill the guy. Like why are you still doing this? Like it's wild, bro. I'm like to think like I guess that's what it. I guess that's what it means when people are like, "Oh, people are soft these days," because like the things that people went through back in the day, the
they
brutality
were
and torture.
masters of they're
That's before
masters
there
of their
was like,
craft. I mean, here's the thing. I think Mel Gibson as a whole, this was a good movie. Take away the subject, like this is a good,
mhm.
well done movie in a lot of aspects. What do you think?
I think so. You know, this movie made me think about other big, big budget, biblical movies like
Awful.
Noah. Remember that with Darren Aronofsky and Russell Crowe. That was you could actually tell that movie was trying to push an agenda. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I felt like this, even though this movie is from a certain religious point of view, I didn't feel like it was pushing an agenda.
You don't
I
need to
felt like it
push
was
an
like, look,
agenda.
this is
This
the
is the point
story
where
as
you
we
didn't
know
have
it.
to because it was just so awful what this person went through.
Yeah, and I felt like it was like, look, this is the part of the story that no one wants to talk about. So I'm gonna show it to you, and then you could take it as is. Because man, this thing was it was
It's meant to
brutal.
give you a response,
And
and it sticks with you. That's for sure. You don't need to see this movie multiple times. I think I'm okay not seeing this movie ever again.
bro, I told you I
Yeah,
saw it
I
one
saw it
time in
too, but
theaters
when I was younger.
when
But
I
I'm
was
like, all right, I'm
14,
good. I'm good with two times. I'm
and I
good
still
with two times.
remembered
What
it
about you?
vividly. Like I've only seen it once, besides just now when we needed to talk about it, and still remembered it vividly. That's how wild this movie is, and I don't
No, we're
ever
good.
need to see it
It's
again.
one of those things where you can remember every part because
Yeah,
of that, and it's like, okay, that's fine. It's seared into your brain. But here's the
and
thing,
I
like
remembered every
Saul is
part.
brutal
I
too,
remember.
but you don't remember every part of Saul. For some reason, you remember every part of this.
No, bro. I mean, I guess that's a testament to Mel Gibson's directing style, right? Because even though it's brutal, it's brutality with a purpose, as opposed to I feel like a lot of movies. I forgot what I was watching the other day, but I'm like, this is just shock value. You're trying to shock the audience, and yes, it's going to shock them, but are they going to remember it after? Whereas this movie, I guess you just gotta. I guess good directing is like good sound design. It's invisible
It's
when it's
noticeable.
good, but when it's bad, it's you can tell. Yeah, like his directing style, like this in Apocalypto, like bro, like he's just giving you a
It's
story and
fluid,
showing it
man.
to you as
It's
opposed to trying
fluid.
to shock you.
It's that's all I can say about it. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, yeah, and Caviezel, I remember because you was talking about how do you think it was a controversy him getting cast at the time, but they did give him a prosthetic nose. They made his
Yeah, because he has
eyes
blue eyes.
brown. Um, yeah, at some point though, sometimes in the movie, his eyes would go from brown to like amber or like gold sometimes. And that one moment where he gives his soul to God, he's on the cross, and he looks up, and then you just see his pupils dilate, and he's gone. That that's a
I'm
great
so one
shot.
last thing before we wrap it up. There's a second one. How do you feel
Word.
about it? A second Passion movie,
A
yes.
second one
Yes.
coming out.
So it's about the resurrection itself, right? Because here's the thing, like when Jesus is already dead, he has to be in hell and be with Satan to clean all the sins and
For like
stuff,
three
right?
days or
So
something like that.
it's going to cover that. It's going to cover the
Yeah.
resurrection, and it's going to cover the final part going into heaven to fulfill that.
I did not. I thought
No,
this was a rumor. I thought someone made a joke and it was a rumor. This is real. Passion of the Christ. It's right now. It's called Passion of the Christ Resurrection Chapter One, coming out next year. Oh, you know what? I talk a lot of stuff about Mel Gibson, but I think it's in good hands
yes,
considering it's
he only
from
makes
Mel
good
Gibson.
movies, dude. He's like Daniel Day
He's
Lewis. He
direct,
only comes out if something is worth it.
but yo, we just talked about this though, bro. Like they can't let things lie. And on the cast list, it seems like it's all the same actors. These people are 20 years older. So what are they gonna do? Are they gonna do de aging technology? Is Jim Caviezel gonna have to get in the best shape? Well, he's still in good shape, but like, what's going on? I mean,
Well,
is this gonna? They're doing a Gladiator 2, Passion of the Christ 2.
I
Like they
don't
just
mind the
can't
second
let
thing so
things
much because
lie.
there's more to the story, right? Like there's different aspects of like what each thing symbolize. Like you can't have the resurrection without the
I
crucifixion. The
guess.
resurrection is the part that like seals the fact that everyone could be saved. That's the purpose of it. So,
I don't know because in the book he's in
hmm
he's in hell
hmm
and he's
hmm
for like 3 days, I think, and he has to break through the gates of hell or something like that to get resurrected.
yeah, it's going
So
to show
is it
like
going to
it's going
show
to show
that?
that part because
Like I don't.
that's the torture itself is him going through that, right?
To think that you get tortured in life and then you
Well,
get tortured in death,
and then
and you knew
everyone
this was
pays a
going to
price
happen
when
since the
the
day you were
world
born,
ends. So who knows? It's crazy, right?
bro. I mean, I think because I think it was a good complete movie, The Passion of the Christ, a movie that you only need to watch once and it will stay with you for the rest of your life.
Me too.
But I think it was a good movie, man.
I agree.
Mel Gibson makes good films. I gotta be honest, he makes good films, and it was a good movie. Good casting, good directing. I mean, good all around, bro. Like I don't have a bad thing to say other
Yep.
than that it's a hard watch. You know, it's not a long movie. It's 2 hours. It's a good solid
It's a
runtime.
tough 2 hours.
But man, it's like it's brutal. It's tough 2 hours, bro. Woo. I
That's it.
mean,
I think
I
that's
don't
a
know
good
what
part to
else
end
to
it. What do
say,
you
bro.
think?
I think it's a good part to end, man. So, my nomads, what do you think of the movie? Just looking at it as a movie alone, what do you think of the passion? Let us know. In the meantime, be creative. Peace.